the Chicago Bulls have went from a 5-0 start with a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense to going 1-3 over the last 4 games. And a lot has changed for the Chicago Bulls. On today's episode, we're talking about exactly what has changed over this recent 4-game stretch and how the Chicago Bulls can stave off this fall off. It looks like they've been in. Is that 5-0 start legitimate? We're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to get into the mailbag as it is Sunday. That means it is voicemail day. We're going to get into all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So many people will remember the Chicago Bulls got out to a 5-0 start to this NBA season where they were a top 5 offense, top 5 defense, and they were just rocking and rolling. The team was playing really good on all cylinders and really playing pretty well and just reminding people, hey, the Chicago Bulls team could be a pretty damn good team this season. And it wasn't like they were beating just bad teams either. Right now, there were like Detroit, which started off a little bit slowly, but now is one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference per record. We beat them. The Orlando Magic season is still kind of getting off to a little bit of a rougher start than what I'm sure the Magic would with that Desmond Bane acquisition just not being good. They right now are the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference, and the Bulls have gone from one of the top 2 seeds in the East down to now number 5 in the Eastern Conference. Now, this has led some Bulls fans, oh my God, the sky is falling, things are going to be all bad, we knew it was a fluke. Like, let's be clear, the Bulls have wins over Detroit, they have a win over Atlanta as well, which is another team that Atlanta's starting to play a little bit better. They are the 9th seed as things stand right now in the Eastern Conference. They got a win over New York, which again is another one of the best teams. They are still below the Bulls, are with one less game, but a 5-3 record do the New York Knicks have. And we got a win over the Philadelphia 76ers as well, which are the number 3 team in the East. So let's be clear here. This is not where the Bulls have only beat bad teams. They have still beat teams that are legitimately good in this Eastern Conference team, but they've lost to some teams that are legitimately good. Cleveland Cavaliers, a really good team. They're second in the East right now, tied for the number 1 record. We lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, they are number 4 team in the East, right above the Chicago Bulls, but they have the same record as us, right? So the Bulls have lost some games, of course, to really good teams as well. The New York Knicks, we just talked about them, right? So it's not like the Bulls' losses. I'd be more concerned if the Bulls' wins came against terrible teams and all of their losses came against the good teams. We're still somewhere in the middle of that. And that's where we should expect to be, right? Like, nobody, if you thought that the Bulls were going to, and this is why even through that 5-0 stretch, I never said, hey, I feel like the Bulls can finish with a top 2 record in the East. I said, hey, maybe they can finish top 6, avoid the play-in, because this is still a team that is learning how to win. This is still a team that hasn't done this over a long period of time, right? But then I want to talk about what has really changed for the Chicago Bulls over the last 4 games for the Bulls. And it's actually things that matter a lot in the hustle stats. For the Bulls to be a team that came into the season and really talked a lot about physicality and defense and playing connected as a team and those type of things, the defense has fallen off a cliff for the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls, who own the 5th best defensive rating in the league after the first 5 games, over the last 4 now have fallen to the 27th ranked defense in the league. That's bottom tier, right? So we got to be better than that. Now, I don't think the Bulls have to be a top 5 defense all season long to still be a solid team. If you could be top 12 with the offense that the Bulls have, gets you a lot of weight. But the offense has also fallen off a little bit. We have now fallen from having a top 5 offensive rating to 19th in offensive rating in the league. And a lot of that is efficiency. The Bulls now have fallen from being a team that was shooting almost 62% true shooting percentage to 58%. We also had an effective field goal shooting percentage of 58% as well. That's fallen down to 54%. Our assist margin has gone down from 69.5, which was number 2 in the league, to number 12, right? Our turnovers have gone up quite considerably as well. And the thing that I think is really concerning, this Bulls team went from getting 53% of all the rebounds out there on the court down to 51%. Now, that may not sound like a lot as far as percentage, but that drops the Bulls from being ranked 7th to 11th. And our offensive rebounding specifically has fallen off a cliff all the way down to 23rd offensive rebounding team in the league. We got to be better in those places and in those areas. And where the Bulls also have now lacked attacking the rim at, it's evident now in our free throw rate. The Bulls went from the 12th best free throw rate in the game, averaging almost 30 free throws per game, down to averaging less than 25, 23, which puts us 25th, bottom 5 team in the league as far as free throw rate. We have to attack. We cannot fall in love with three-point shooting, and that's where the Bulls really have the shooting profile for the Bulls has actually changed quite considerably, and we got to get back to that shooting profile that we had before. When it came into it, the Bulls were over their 5-game winning streak. Only 36% of our shots were coming from the three-point line between corner threes and above the break threes. You look at this frequency now over the last 4 games with the 1-3 record, that has gone up to nearly 43%. We got to get that back. We have to attack the paint and get back to attacking the restricted area a lot more. The paint and the restricted area. We were almost 50% in the paint and the restricted area over that 5-0 stretch. Over the last games, we're down to 43. That's almost 10% drop off there. We got to get better in attacking. We can't fall in love with the three-pointer. Yes, if the three-pointer's there and we're hot from three, take the three. But the Bulls have almost fallen back in love with the mashing three-point offense that we had at times last season that caused me some concern then, right? So we got to get into that bag, right? So we've talked about what's been wrong. So how can the Bulls affect this change? A, it's health. Ayo Dosunmu missed 2 out of the last 4 games, right? So there's that part of it. Ayo was such a big part, and even in one game that he had, you can clearly see he wasn't quite himself. He's had a minutes restriction. He played really good last night against Cleveland, but because of his minutes restriction, he wasn't in that game late. Getting Ayo Dosunmu back is going to help tremendously. And then a lot of those places as well, the fact that we haven't had Coby White and Zach Collins, like the thing that I've always said, next man up mentality is a great thing, right? But eventually, you're going to be reminded of why players aren't starters, or and that's just evident, right? And no knock on Tre Jones. Tre Jones is still going to be a damn good point guard for this team, and in his minutes, I will not be surprised if we usually wins Tre Jones's minutes. But I think over the last few games, you're starting to see some of the things that where Tre Jones lacks at as a player offensively, where Coby White would be. Now, we saw an aggressive stretch from Tre Jones last night to start off the second half, which really helped the Chicago Bulls. I want to be clear there. But I think if you look at that as well, like there's just a lot of times over the last few games, whereas Tre Jones just has not necessarily helped the Chicago Bulls in the way that you would want him to. And so those are things that you also have to look at as well. And I think those things are going to get better with Coby White. Now, for Tre Jones, for what it's worth, right? He's still over the last 4 games averaging 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, right? So he's doing that. He's even still shooting 46% from the field, which is really good. He's shooting 52% on his 2-point attempts, which is solid. But he's shooting 14% on 3-point attempts, and he's only averaging 1.8 3-point attempts per game. And if you watch the game, you know that there have been more free throw attempts there for him. 3-point attempts there for him, and he's missing out on those. So those are things that can definitely help the Chicago Bulls and where Coby White can help at. So health. As the Bulls get back healthier, it's going to help them. Over these losses, you've really seen where Coby White, and for that matter, Zach Collins. Now, Jalen Smith was cooking last game, so give Jalen Smith some credit. He was cooking. He should have been in that game in the fourth quarter. But health, getting the Bulls back healthy is going to help them. Now, one could say that the Cavs, Haize, they were missing Darius Garland, and you're right. But the Bulls getting back, those guys are going to help, right? And then even though it was only one game, I'm raising it as a concern because it's stuff that we've seen from Billy in the past. We haven't seen so much this season, but of course there's always that concern that that's going to get back to being in the negative place. And last night, Billy Donovan didn't ride the hot hand. Jalen Smith was the hottest player on the court for the Chicago Bulls on both sides of the ball in a lot of ways. And leaving Vooch in that game, we got to get back to Billy Donovan talked about coming into the season, trusting his players. You got to trust your players. Jalen Smith should have been in that. And I know, again, it's been one game where we saw something that egregious, but I just want to call it out because we cannot see that. Like, you don't want to see that over any stretch. Billy Donovan got to be that better. And then I would say this, Modest Buzelis and Nikola Vucevic have to be consistent. Now, Vooch has been pretty much consistent. Last night was a terrible game for Vooch. But Modest, especially his defensive effort, is something that lacks at times. But Modest has become too important to this team. You are a starter in this rotation. We can't have you completely disappear. We can't have you falling out in 13 minutes. We can't have you doing these type of things. Modest is going through it. And this is why I said coming into this second year for Modest, do not put those expectations of him hitting a star level leap this season. Don't do that, right? Because it's kind of unrealistic, and it doesn't typically happen in a player's second year, especially when they are not the number one option. But on top of that, like Modest got to get better. And the key thing that I want to see Modest get better at is on the defensive side of the ball. We've seen him a lot better on offense. He's attacking the rim more frequently, right? He's attempting more pull-up shots. All those things are really good. I do need to see him get a midi, right? But on top of the decisiveness and him even having the ball in his hands and being solid in those areas, Modest Buzelis cannot hit his ceiling if he's not playing defense, and we need that from Modest Buzelis. So we got to get more two-way play from Modest Buzelis. I get it. People are like, he's slight. That's all this type of stuff. People even have started the stuff, oh, my God, he's actually small. We're not going to do the P-Will stuff again. Modest Buzelis is the power forward now. He's perfectly fine as a power forward. He just got to stay in that. Now, he may eventually move to the 3, and Noah Essengate may become the 4. I think that's probably the long-term plan there, and that's fine. But Modest is fine being a 4 right now. He just has to get to that. He has to be more of a two-way threat for the Chicago Bulls, and that doesn't come down to just weight. It's smarts, right? It's also IQ. I've said it before. Modest with his length and speed and athleticism can be a terror in passing lanes for opposing teams. We just need to see him do that. And he's going to draw, when you look at it, he's going to draw guarding the Giannis's, the Kevin Durant's, the Paolo Bancheros, the LeBron James. Like, he's going to guard those guys, the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s. And this is a trial by fire for him defensively. He's going to have to learn how to get through that. And I think he will come out on the other side of that. Modest is too prideful. He's too much of a workhorse not to get it done. But that's where we need Modest to be much better at. And let's hope that we can see it from Modest. But that's just where over this last 1-3 stretch where the Bulls have kind of failed at is where they can try to start correcting some things. Theoretically, the Bulls, if we're eyeing Coby White coming back between that Denver game and that Portland game is where he talked about. So between the 16th and the 19th, it means we only got 2 more games without Coby. Theoretically, right? If he can come back in that Utah game, only 2 more games without Coby White. Let's hope that we can get to that point. 2 or 3 more games without Coby. And Zach Collins is coming back right around that same time with his the original projection that they gave. Let's hope that we get these 2 guys back out on the court and they help the Chicago Bulls quite considerably. But that is it. That is it for that part of the show. It is now time to get into the mailbag. It is Sunday. That means it is mailbag day. This first voicemail, this one is from Tone.
Hey, this is Tone from Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Yeah, I'm just calling because, I don't like what I'm seeing now from the Bulls, losing these 2 games after a good game with Milwaukee. They let Giannis kill them, but like you said, punch in the face. But after seeing the highlights of the Cleveland game, I don't understand how these teams, I'm thinking, my question to you, let's put it like this. My question to you is, have teams figured us out, on how to play us and how to stop us? And from what I saw in the highlights, man, we got too lazy on defense in the second half and to let Cleveland come back on us like that. But it's like what we did to Philly, we came back on them on a 24-point comeback. Cleveland did that to us last night. So, my question to you, have they figured it out? They figured it out on how to play us, and, to allow 3 of the starters from Cleveland to score over 70 points. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. But, it's just a question, have teams figured it out? That's all I want to know because, the way I've seen them play defense in these last 2 games, I don't like it, but I know it's still early, and I just want us to go back and get the W's again, because now we play San Antonio, and I know that's going to be a hard team to beat. So I'm just hoping we regroup after these 2 losses and get this dub on our next game. Thank you, man, and you're doing an awesome job, man. Just keep doing a good job, man. I listen to you every freaking fucking day, and I love what you say, man. Keep up the good work, man. Let's go, Bulls. See fucking red in the next game. See some fucking red. Have a good day and enjoy your Sunday. Bye.
The Bulls have lost the last 2 games because of execution, especially down the stretch of the game, right? I know that Milwaukee game, the margin was larger than we wanted it to be, but really came down to down the stretch of that game and how Giannis was Giannis and the Bulls really didn't have an answer. With the Cavs, it just came down to execution, us not getting the most out of some of those possessions. We got to do that. So I can't say that teams have figured out the Chicago Bulls because of the 3 losses. I think on top of that as well, we haven't even figured out the Chicago Bulls. Like, adding in Coby White back to this team is going to be quite a change to how you have to guard the Chicago Bulls. So even if they have, let's just say for your question, they have figured out the Bulls as of right now. There's a pretty big player coming back in Coby who's going to change the way that we do some things and the way that you have to guard them. So we're going to have to relearn that. So I'm not willing to say they've learned the Bulls yet. And even if they have, the Bulls got some more firepower coming. And you're going to have to figure out us a little bit more. So that's what I'll say to that one, Tone. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one is from Josh.
Yo, what up, Haize? Chicago Bulls Central. This is Josh out in Arizona. I'm calling right after, not right after, a little later after the Cavs loss that we took tonight. 2 losses in a row, first 2 losses in a row for the season. And what I wanted to know for this loss particular is, I think this is the first time that we've seen a loss, I think mainly due to coaching. I think a coaching blunder by Billy Donovan of not throwing Jalen Smith out there at the end of the game, maybe even like a P. Will out there at the end of the game. I don't know. I think it was more of a coaching issue for us that really lost us that game versus the Cavs. Another thing, though, that I want to know is, out of the 3 losses that we have had, the Knicks, the Bucks, and the Cavs, I haven't really been seeing us lose because of repeated pattern. It's always been somewhat a new problem, for the Knicks. We was never fully in that game. We could have had more energy from the start, but we was kind of in it, still fighting. Versus the Bucks, it was really, Giannis doing Giannis things, kind of a unstoppable guy. I think defending the rest of the team a little bit better would have helped us in the end of that one. And then just with this Cavs loss, late game decision making by Billy Donovan, and some of the rest of the team being in foul trouble and whatnot, caused us to lose this game. So not repeated offenses that have been causing us losses. I'm glad for that. I think that a lot of these mistakes that we have been making are fixable, and really, like, every loss that we have had has been a competitive loss where we was not really getting destroyed like that. So even though 2 losses is tough, it doesn't leave like too bad of a taste in your mouth. No diddy. Tell me what you think. Have a good one.
Yeah, Billy Donovan didn't coach his best game last night. It wasn't his best coaching last night. And the Bulls are a really good team, and they needed Jalen Smith out there, and it is what it is, right? But I think last night was a perfect example of how coaching can hurt your team. If as the coach they don't read the ebbs and flows of the game really well, it can completely throw off your team. And we saw that last night with the Chicago Bulls. And I think that was an evident thing. Billy Donovan has to be better. He has to be better consistently. Now, for what it's worth, he's been better over the course of the season, and I'll say that. But like I said, earlier in the episode, one of the reasons it raises some concerns for me because that was kind of things that we've seen from Billy Donovan before. You remember how many games Andre Drummond was cooking, and then he wasn't in the fourth quarter. So it's just those type of things. Hopefully Billy learns from it. Hopefully the Bulls are better for it, and we'll see what comes out of that. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one is from Noble.
I swear, dog, man. Oh, listen. Tonight, I got a little of that old Billy Donovan I grew to love and hate. The one that takes out players who hot and put in players who have been lukewarm the whole game. You put in Giddey, who's trying to prove something because he got his ankles broke in the game. He had a horrible game. He should have visually understood that and put Ayo back in the game. Also, Vooch, horrible game. Smith was cooking. You take him out and end the game with these 2. I love both of the players, but tonight was not their night. And old Billy showed his head again and took out the hot guys and put in the man, Haize, man. Tell me I'm tripping. Am I the only one that saw that? Or is it just me tripping? Peace, dog.
Definitely some old Billy Donovan concerns there, right? And I get why wanting Josh Giddey back in the game. Like, Josh Giddey had provided an edge, so I understand why you want Josh Giddey back in that game to see if he can bring it. But once you saw that Josh Giddey wasn't quite himself with that ankle, you had to sit his ass down. Now, Ayo didn't play late in that game because of the minutes restriction. So keep that in mind, right? Ayo didn't play because he was on a 24-minute restriction. He played 23 and a half minutes. So putting him in there for 30 seconds wouldn't help anything with the Bulls at that point in time, right? But Giddey definitely wasn't himself down the stretch of that game. And then when you pair in the fact that Vooch wasn't playing well at all and we left Jalen Smith on the bench, that hurt the team. And so the Bulls got to figure out how to be better down the stretches of games. And a lot of that is on Billy Donovan. You are not wrong for that at all, brother. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one is from Big Rob.
Hey, how you doing, Haize? It's Big Rob from the West Side. Many blessings to you and your family. It's been a while. Just work's been super busy, but not busy enough for me not to pay attention to these games. And I've been watching some of your watch-alongs, and it's always fun seeing all you brothers just coming together and just showing the love of Chicago Bulls fans and representing us. So I'm always enjoying it. So with that being said, I don't want to take up your time. I have one question and one comment. And the one comment is to all the Bulls fans who see like a John Moran or they're saying Zion Williamson or seeing names out there. Let's just stop. Just stop doing this. Let's stop doing what everyone's thinking. They see star names and think like, oh, we can get him. Oh, well, he's disgruntled. There's a reason why there's issues over there. And I don't need that headache. I don't need that drama. I don't need that shenanigans and tomfoolery. When you leave that alone, I remember when AK said in the beginning he wanted to build organically, through drafts, through just youth and trying to get things going. Obviously, he kind of took a step back and gave it to like Caruso and Zach and DeMar. I love those gentlemen, but they were the short-term fix, but couldn't fix the long-term. Which leads to this question for you, Haize. Seeing Caruso getting traded for Giddey and look like a win-win for both teams. Like Okoro for Ball looks like a win-win situation. Re-signing Trey Jones. Do you think that AK is going in the right direction to the point that it wouldn't make sense to make any moves now or try to trade during the February deadline? Or do you believe they should consider exploring an option like maybe getting another big because you're not feeling the consistency of maybe Jalen Smith? But that's just one of my concerns is like, do you want to break up the chemistry when things are going your way, or do you just kind of take a weighted approach to see if an opportunity knocks, do you want to at least entertain the idea? Let me know what you think. Again, many blessings to you. God bless. Peace.
He's in the stretch of making some really good moves and really good decisions, right? And I'll say this, to answer your question, when you have $60 million in expiring contracts, you explore everything. You have a $17 million trade exception. You have room underneath the apron to actually use some of that as well if you decide to do it. So I think the Bulls should be listening to a lot, right? That doesn't mean you pull the trigger. That doesn't mean just because you're exploring that you find the right move. Every move that you make has to make sense to where you're going and where you are. And so I'm not here to say the Bulls should make a move just to make a move, but you should be exploring if some type of option is there for you with those expiring contracts. And I think AK will listen to those deals. It doesn't mean he's going to pull the trigger on one, though. And, you know, we'll see what comes out of that. And if the Bulls do make a move that makes them better, maybe get somebody that's going into restricted free agency and, you know, their team doesn't plan to keep them, something like that, maybe an expiring deal, something like that as well. So the Bulls will have options here. But the thing right now is to focus on the court. You know, as we get closer, like let's get to December before we worry about trading. We haven't even seen this team fully together yet. So I'm not really looking at trades or anything yet just because of that. Let's see this team and how they look. Let's get Coby White back on the court. Let's then have a month of Coby White looking back on the court and how everything fits together then before we really worry about trades and stuff like that. But all right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one is from Rec.
Hey, how you doing? This is Rec from Palos Hills. Just want to make a few comments about the Bulls game last night against Milwaukee. We just don't have anybody to stand up to Giannis. And when he plays especially good, like he did last night, we're in big trouble. Buzelis got thrown around like a rag doll. Okoro is too small, although he tried. And Williams, our $90 million boy, he just didn't step in there at all. I had been really excited about his consistent upward trending play. But yesterday, he took a step back down, and we really, really needed him. There were other factors, but their two bigs, Giannis and Turner, just absolutely destroyed us. I was wondering if you saw it the same way. Later.
There's no player that can stop Giannis. So I just want to be clear there. I think a lot of times people are like, we got to find somebody that can stop. Nobody can stop Giannis. You have to either slow down Giannis as a team, or you have to worry about slowing down everything else around him. So while, yes, Giannis was Giannis down the stretch of that game, you also let Miles Turner go off from three. You let the Bucks overall shoot over 40% from three. I think if you change that and you guard the three-point line better for some of the role players down the stretch of that game, Ryan Rollins and AJ and those type of guys, you could have been in that game a little bit more. So I'm not going to put it just on Giannis. Giannis is going to be Giannis typically. There's not anybody in the league that can really stop Giannis. You just have to have a game plan to where you slow the other things down around Giannis, and then hopefully you can force him. For what it's worth, through three quarters, the Bulls forced Giannis into a very inefficient shooting day. He just went into Giannis mode in the fourth. And that's why you got to create separation in other places. But all right, that's every voicemail for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. All I can say is this, right? Chicago Bulls hit a bump, and this is a bump. A 1-3 stretch is a bump, right? But with health getting back here sooner rather than later, there are adjustments that we can make on the table as well. There's plenty of time. Like, it's not, all doom and gloom like some Bulls fans have you believe because the Bulls have lost some games. But, we'll see if the Bulls can do that. They got to show out there, and they got to prove it out on the basketball court. But that's my time, man. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, stay safe out there, see red, and as always, go Bulls. Love you guys. See y'all in the next one. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.